Hello plebs. I actually tried to record this script, but I just started coughing and dying, so text to speech it is. In this video I'd like to talk about the upcoming ban list, whenever the hell that is, and put forward some suggestions for what should be changed. The good thing about this video is that most of these suggestions are collected from various well-informed pro players who have been featured on my channel in some degree. So you can expect basically all of these suggestions to not be stupid and actually be constructive and beneficial to the overall health of the game. But as always, this is an opinion-based video and should be taken with a grain of salt regardless. So in no particular order, let us begin with the cards that could come back, and I know this will excite many of you. Some returns will be talked about in more detail later in the video, so stay tuned. About half of the ban list is pointless and needs to all just come back to 3 already, to be honest, but some specific mentions would be bumping up Artifact, Moral Touch, El Shadow Fusion, Brain Control, Mathematician, Luster Pendulum, Gateway of the Six, Torrential Tribute, Compulsory Evacuation Device, Bottomless Trap Hole, Book of Moon, The Insectors, Scout, and maybe even Dark Destroyer. The fact that so many of these cards are still limited is pointless. I'm sure that I've forgotten many others, but I didn't want to make this video 30 minutes long. Some cards that should not come back however is Monster Reborn, which a lot of people have been discussing recently with the new product Konami are offering at certain OTS stores. That card is stupid. Very stupid. I will not insult my viewers' intelligence, because I hope I do not have to explain in detail why bringing a monster back to the field from either player's graveyard with no restrictions whatsoever is fucking ridiculous. No, seriously, stop suggesting this card can come back. Let us now talk about the elephant in the room, Spyral. This deck has dominated for 2 formats despite a ban list, and it goes without saying that nothing in the new sets look like it would rival the deck, with all things remaining the same. There are numerous ways to approach hitting this deck, but first of all I'd like to talk about a potential ban on Spyral Sleeper. The crazy and amazing and breakable boards that Spyral makes become far less spooky once you take this glorified Icarus attack on steroids out of the equation, and it now becomes a lot easier to play through. A second suggestion would be to limit or ban Spyral Resort. The rotor effect should have been made a hard once per turn, and I do not get why it wasn't from the beginning. But we are too far that point now. The reason why I think this card is particularly annoying is that giving your entire engine a March of the Monarchs-like effect for free while going plus is absurd. Limiting Resort would also make Double Helix fair, as Master Plan's grave effect would not be able to resolve, so it fixes a lot of problems with just one single hit. Another hit I believe should be Terraforming to either 0 or 1. I think that this applies to the same logic as Rotor. An extremely generic search card which becomes broken or dogshit depending on how relevant meta decks with a field spell become. Not to mention that if you already run 3 Terraforming and 3 field spells, this allows you to potentially further tech in other field spells like Dragon Ravine and Destrudo, or side into a 1 of Necro Valley to search, which depending on the format can be a devastating floodgate. Now let's talk about Magicians. This deck for the most part is quite a fair deck, and Pendulums in general are more fair now with Master Rule 4. There isn't any one single broken and unfair card Magicians have. It is just a consistent and strong deck, so perhaps some consistency hits would be in order, like Joker to 1, Wisdom Might to 1, or perhaps banning Astrograph Sorcerer, as this is how you can make Heavy Metal Electromite before Pendulum summoning. But this preemptive hit probably shouldn't go through just yet, however I just thought I'd mention it for consideration. Another hit is Grind the Golem being banned. This card is just stupid for how much it does with no normal summon. Go on YouTube and look at any generic combo video and it almost always includes this guy as a starter. It is a 1 card wombo combo in any deck that plays a lot of link monsters. This can be thrown into anything, and while generally I'm a fan of generic cards that work well in multiple decks, this is just a little silly for a combo that can be done without a normal summon. A general rule of thumb is that if a random irrelevant deck can become the best deck ever by drawing an unsearchable 3-of, then that card probably needs to be hit. Continuing on from Grind the Golem, I would like Firewall Dragon to be limited. This card has contributed to any and every stupid combo you will ever see post Master Rule 4. Literally every stupid combo in this game currently has been enabled by this card in multiples. If this card was at 1, which would still be strong and fair, it just wouldn't contribute to creating game-breaking loops. And one final ban I would like to see is Level Eater. With the introduction of the Link mechanic and cards like Link Kiribor, this card has become too powerful. While I do not think there are any decks which can consistently take advantage of Level Eater and the Link spam it contributes to, I do believe that there is enough potential there to create an insane board. Any deck that can run high level monsters and a way to get Level Eater into the grade fast is probably a contender for some broken combo. I'm sure we have all seen the crazy things this card can do with the Link mechanic, and without Maxx C it is best to just get rid of this. Next is Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. This is a card I have a dedicated video on my channel discussing, so I would recommend you watch that for some more of my thoughts. I think that, if we consider that evenly matched, is a very powerful card which hasn't dominated the game as much as we thought. It is safe to say a card which requires investing 2 monsters into and basically skipping your battle phase is not going to be game breaking. In fact, it would be nice to see this card return, as it means that it would make going second consistently a valid option again outside of running 39 hand traps and 1 single copy of Scapegoat. For the last few years, going first has generally been the default for almost any deck, so to give many decks a going second strategy instead of the rare anomaly would be good for the game. For some cards to come back, let's talk specifically about Shadow Construct. This debate has been on for a long time. On the one hand, people do not like the idea of side decking 3 Shadow Fusion, Beast, Dragon and a Construct to make going second a +2 with a beta that can out almost any monster in the game. Some people argue that this would be too unfair and would make this engine splashable in certain decks. On the other hand, some people think this would be fine, and with a Shadow Link monster it only makes sense that this deck be given some way of competing in the meta game again, even as just a generic tier 1.5 deck. I think it is difficult to come to a conclusion on this one. Worst case scenario, they can just ban her again if she's too broken, like they did with Snatch Steal after 1 single format. Good job by the way, Konami. Hoopsie fucking daisy. I think bringing Construct back could be a good test of how fair that deck is in today's meta game. Maxx C, I think I've discussed this card alone on my channel about 4 times already. There is a reason this card keeps coming up time and time again in these types of videos, and it's because when this card is drawn in an opening hand, the dynamic of that duel completely changes and is vastly tipped in favor of the player who has drawn it. It is a turn-ending card capable of shutting down the best of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Conversely, the card will always keep the power creep in check and forces people to choose a deck or deck build differently, knowing that this card is prevalent in a given format. Regardless of which side of the fence you are on, with Maxx C being in the game or not, the card needs to be at 3, or it needs to be at 0. At 3, it forces players to choose a deck and make card choices that do not auto-scoop to Maxx C. And at 0, it means that the card won't be instantly ending turns or drawing into other powerful hand traps to further destroy your opponent's turn, even if they choose to keep going. Whatever you feel about Maxx C, the card cannot stay at 1 or 2, as this creates far too much variance and luck in the format. For these reasons, it should either be unlimited or banned with no in between. And there you have it, 10 of my top hits for the coming format. If there is anything I missed or got wrong and feel like you want to voice your opinion on, then please let me know down in the comments section below. And until next time, plebs, farewell.